Capitol Hoops here today at Theodore Roosevelt. We are honored to be in the office of head basketball coach Rob Nickens. Coach, it's a pleasure being here.
Thank you for having me, Mark. Capitol Hoops, great situation, man. You've been doing great work in the area for a long time, and I appreciate you coming out today interviewing me.
So let's start at the beginning. I know you've been a very successful coach here. I think you just finished your 11th season.
11th season at Theodore Roosevelt.
This wasn't your first coaching job.
No.
So take me back to your childhood, where you grew up, where you went to high school.
Grew up in the Searching Quarters area, which is Northwest Washington, D.C., down by Dunbar, K Street area. Played in number 2 boys club for the great Julius Wide and Bill Butler and Jimmy Watkins. Learned the game under them guys when I was young. Played at Turl Middle School, where I played with some great people. Played under Coach Dixon at Turl. I learned a lot of things from Coach Dixon at Turl. Went on from Turl to play at Spingarn High School, where I played for varsity for 3 years for the great late Kenny Howe, rest in peace, coach, who taught me the game inside out, the X's and O's of the game. So that's where I pretty much started my basketball career and my coaching career, and learning the game under Kenny Howe to Spingarn.
And then after high school?
After high school, went on to play at Cloud County Community College in Kansas, played for Dennis Erkenbrack, who's a legend in Kansas, JUCO ranks. He won over 400 games before I even got to play for him. So, you know, X's and O's and studying the game under Coach Erkenbrack, I learned a lot about different offenses and different junk defenses, where it carried over to me here coaching at Theodore Roosevelt.
So after high school, what was your first, after college, what was your first job?
My first job was at Cardoza High School as a JV coach at Cardoza High School.
So you coached basketball the very first year you were out of college?
No, 3 years after. I coached a little bit of boys club basketball in between at number 2 boys club, and then I went over to the high school ranks with Mitch Creedle, who's the head girls coach at Cardoza. He asked me to come coach the JV team at Cardoza, and when Mitch left Cardoza after the first year, being the girls coach, he took over the varsity head coach at M.N. Washington, a program that was in the DCIAA for a long time. The people, you know, some people might remember, some people don't. But I went on to be his top assistant with him at M.N. Washington. And at that time, Mitch asked me to come on down with him. We was going to build a program, and he thought I was cut out to help him build a monster program. And when we did, so I was there for 8 years as the head JV coach for 4, and by Mitch being a detective with MPD, he used to get called on cases and things. I tell people all the time about this during games where he had to leave, and he turned the reins over to me. So I was the head coach in waiting, and the principal at M.N. Washington offered me the job, and you know, I had a very successful program at M.N. Washington. And then that was from 2001 to 2005, and then in 2005 I got the call from Darryl Tillman, rest in peace, who was my AD, who was the AD here at Theodore Roosevelt, to ask me to take over the program here in 2006, and I've been home. It's been home for me ever since.
Was that a tough decision to come here after you had really built M.M. Washington, seems like from the ground up? Or?
It was a tough decision, but Darryl was somebody that I knew that had my back, and I knew that I could build a program here. You know, I always tell a story about, you know, when we went out to lunch, he talked about, man, you're a great young coach, man, but your legacy will be how you build Roosevelt's program. And that stuck with me, and he gave me a 2-month window to decide because Summer League was coming up. The great thing about that situation is when Darryl came, he came at the right time because M.N. Washington was closing the next 2 years later. And at that time, Vaughn Jones, who was the great coach of Cougars, was my assistant at M.N. Washington. So I was able to lead M.N. Washington's program into Vaughn's hand, and we already know what he did the last couple of years at Coolidge and built a monster program at M.N. when I left. So we both came under the same coaching tree, which made us both great coaches, and that's why that rivalry has always been Coolidge-Roosevelt, because of me and Vaughn being together for a long time. So I take my hat off to everybody that was involved in that circle.
Take me through your time here at Roosevelt. You've had a lot of success. There's been, we'll get into it a little later, but it seemed like there was Coolidge who dominated for a couple of years, then you guys had a run, then, you know, most recently Woodson, and it seems like now it's Wilson's time, but you guys have always been towards the top. Talk about your road here.
Well, I came in 2006. I tell everybody all the time, man, everybody has had a successful run, but we've had a run that many people don't have this day and time in high school basketball. In 2006, when I took over 2007, Cardozo was just coming off a 4-year run of winning the city championship 4 years in a row. And I said to myself, when I got to Roosevelt, I was going to build a program where we could contend for championships every year. So in 2008, I won my first. Then we come back, 2009, 2010, Baloo is the talk of the city, Dante Thomas and that great team they had over there, the job that Jenkins did over there at that time. He built the monster program, and what we do, we come back in 2011 and we worked and we got back and we won another championship again. So then Coolidge has their run, which is 2012, 2013. We outlast their run, and we come back in 2014 and we win the city and the state championship. And the last couple of years, we've been able to get to the finals. We've come up short, but I love what my program is. We've been to 7 championship games in the last 9 years. I think that's an incredible thing to do in high school basketball here in Washington, D.C. I don't think people really understand how hard it is to win one championship or to get to one championship game, but to go to 7 out of the last 9 years, I give the credit to my staff, my administration here, and everybody that's around me because they believe in the program, and the program believes in itself. So I take my hat off to Theodore Roosevelt basketball because it's hard to win in public school basketball in Washington, D.C.
Talk to me about the landscape of the DCIAA. Just in the last minute here, I think you named either 6 or 7 teams that have kind of been at the top in the last decade.
Yes.
And if you look at other leagues, be it private, public, whatever, to have 7 teams who can claim that they were the best in a 10-year span is pretty much unheard of. Talk about the parity in the DCIAA.
You gotta. I mean, we don't get the credit. I don't think we get the credit that we need to get as a league because, just example, I'm talking about Vaughn Jones. When Vaughn was at Coolidge, he played everybody. And myself here, I've played everybody you can play. We've played nationally ranked teams. I remember a couple of years ago, somebody pulled me up on the other day. We beat West Charlotte. They had Kennedy Meeks, the boy that played at North Carolina. He was loaded. We beat him at Coolidge in a showcase that Mark Tillman had over the Martin Luther King holiday. A couple of years ago, year before last, I went up to Martin Luther King. They were ranked in the country. We beat them on the road up there. I mean, I've never ducked playing anybody, and I never will because I believe it makes your kids better and it prepares you for tournament play. So we want to play the best of the best. But the parity in the league, in public school basketball, you're going to get an opportunity to have your run, but how you sustain it is what is so hard because if we get a kid that's an outstanding public school kid in Washington, D.C., 95% of the time the Catholic school is going to recruit him or the charter school is going to recruit him. I don't have a problem with that. It's open season for a kid that's in the 8th grade that's playing basketball for you to want to give him an opportunity to play at your place. But that's what we deal with. So to be able to stay at the top, as long as we've been at the top, is outstanding. I mean, you have to really take that into consideration and look at how that's being done on a yearly basis. Roosevelt is always in the thick of things every year come February. So
I think most outsiders think right now it's kind of Wilson's time. Mm-hmm. They had a great run last year.
Yes, they did.
What do you have to do to
beat them?
To beat them, to run with them, to be the last team standing?
One thing about us is that we never ever say we can't win this or we can't win that. I learned a long time ago, and I learned this from Reese Morgan, a good friend of mine, who was a great player at Dunbar, quarterback and basketball player, is that you just want to win in advance. It doesn't have to be about a certain amount of points. It doesn't have to be a blowout, whatever. You just want to play the game and give yourself an opportunity. Last year, they were on a 21-game winning streak, and we went up to Wilson and we beat them in their house. In the championship game this past year, we had a couple of guys that were out injury-wise. Not to make excuse, Wilson played great, but I think we could have played a much better basketball game if we had our full personnel that night. Hernandez is doing a great job of there, but, I've been doing this so long that I understand that all it takes is one night. And you can win a basketball game in a one-night shot. We've done it so many times here that it's pretty much routine. So that gives us a chance to be able to win a championship every year because I know that you only have to win on that one night. A one-game scenario in a tournament, an upset can happen. And I'm not saying it's going to be upset. Injuries happen. Anything happen during the basketball season. But here at Theodore Roosevelt, we're going to work as hard as anybody to be prepared to play on the floor at the right time, and that's late February.
I want to go back to something you mentioned a minute ago, recruiting.
Okay.
Private school basketball is probably at its peak right now.
Yes.
And it poaches so many kids, not from just your area, but from every area.
Yes.
How do you combat that? And what are you able to do within the guideline of the rules when a Gonzaga is recruiting a guy in your area? Are you allowed to talk to that kid and try to give him the Roosevelt pitch? How does that work?
We're able to give the Roosevelt pitch, but like I said, it's not called recruiting. It's basically.
But how do you combat a private school's recruiting?
I mean, pretty much, you just have to show the body of work, and that's what I try to do here. We've had everything that a private school has done. I've done here at Theodore Roosevelt. We've sent guys Division I. We've sent guys NAIA. We've sent guys D2. We've sent guys JUCO. We've sent guys D3. We have guys that have qualified every year here. So with that being said, and the style of play, basketball-wise, is fun, and more importantly, it's a family here. So, I could care less if you shot 1,000 jump shots or you shot one. I'm going to be involved in your life for the rest of your life. And I'm not saying that private school coaches don't do that, but Rob Nickens can guarantee that he's going to do that. So that's how, I try to combat that with, this is a program, it's a lasting program, it's been successful for a long period of time, and it's going to continue to be successful, so just give us a chance and see.
Switch gears a little bit. Washington, D.C. is known as an area that has violence, that has drugs, that has gangs, that has poverty, a lot of things. And as a coach, not just a coach, but as a big influence in these kids' lives and someone who understands the day-to-day inner workings of Washington, D.C., just talk about those things and how that affects the DCIAA and your program.
Well, I'm going to give you an example, man, and this is what we deal with here in the city. And, I have a situation that happened to me that, I'm going to give a prime example. There's a lot of coaches that, coach the game of basketball that do a great job. And in the inner city, you have to be technically connected to some type of violence that might have happened in your own life. Growing up in the area I grew up with, I pretty much seen gun violence, I pretty much seen a drug situation, things like that go on. So back in 2012, I was coming home late from a summer league basketball game. I was just minding my business, parked my car. My car was pretty much about 2 blocks away from my house, so I had to walk around the corner to my house.
And you live in D.C., right?
Yeah, live in D.C. I lived off of 30th Street Southeast.
Okay.
I'm walking home, walking around the corner because there wasn't no parking in front of my house. I gets out the car. Normal night, coming from a summer league game. Just had a great summer league win. Great night. 3 guys come up behind me. Guy puts the gun in my face. Tells me, man, hey, I'm going to kill you. If you don't give me what's in your pocket, I'm going to kill you. I don't have any money on me, Mark, at the time. I just, every day, man, any day above ground is a great day. So that's what we try to talk about on a daily basis, that, you have an opportunity to do something about getting out of Washington, D.C. Not saying D.C. is a bad place, but give yourself a chance at doing better in life. And I always talk about a situation that I was in where a couple of years ago, I got robbed and I got shot. And it was a trying time for me. And at that time, for credibility, I think God put me in a situation where I survived it, but he was giving me some knowledge on how to be able to let these kids know, man, that, hey, no matter what you face in violence, you can't give up and you got to keep moving forward. And, fortunately enough, I didn't die in the situation. I got shot, and it hit me in my knee. You can see the gunshot right there. It hit me in my knee. And, the guys took off running, fell to the ground, and it was burning so bad somebody called the ambulance. And, they was able to get to me, get me to the hospital. Didn't hit an artery or anything, but I could have lost my life right there. So as a coach, when I'm telling you to stay out the street, I have been in that situation where you got to go by my credibility. I'm not lying to you. That's the interaction that I have with my guys, that I'm not saying everybody doesn't, but I've lived it. So I'm a living example of why this basketball program is a house and a home for our guys, because I want to keep my kids safe and out of the streets. I'm able to talk to my guys about it. So some of my former players know about it, and some of my current players know about it. And they always ask me questions about Coach Rob. How did you feel that night? And I always try to be truthful with them, man. I got an opportunity to survive a situation that most people don't survive. So we need to go forward, and we need to always understand God has complete control, but it is a lot of violence that goes on in the area, and it can even happen to me. And that's what I try to explain to my guys. So I'm fortunate enough to be able to survive that situation. Like I said, I got shot, but it just goes to show you, man, in this city, we live in a rough city this day and time, and, man, basketball is a small piece of the puzzle, but giving kids the opportunity to move on in their lives is more important to me. So that's how I deal with violence here in Washington, D.C.
How do you, as the coach at Roosevelt and a coach in the DCAA, how do you overcome so many obstacles that so many of your kids face?
Just believing that we're going to give you an opportunity to get out of here. I've had kids that have come to me and said, Coach Rob, man, my icebox is completely empty. And I go there, and it's completely empty. And we give them money and we feed them. I'm not going to have a kid hungry in my program. I've had kids come to me that, are dealing with, having a girlfriend that's pregnant. I've had guys come to me and told me they were robbed. I've had so many situations. I've had guys that have been shot, that have played for me, that I can go to the hospital and talk to them about. A former player of mine got shot a couple of weeks ago. He called me and he said he just needed to talk and he needed a hug, and I went and talked to him. The one thing that we have in the program is God, and I think God understands that, being in this situation and being in a public school situation, that you have to be able to deal with any obstacle that comes your way. It's never a day that I wake up not expecting to deal with a situation, but not saying I'm not going to get through it either. So it's a 50-50 ball, just like we teach these kids in basketball, that if you want to win the game, you better dive on the floor, you better rebound, you better box out and do what you need to do. The 50-50 ball is going to win the championship for us, and that's what we believe here at Theodore Roosevelt.
You're in a position as a head coach and a mentor, and there's probably some other title to go along with it, where you can really impact a lot of kids' lives.
On time.
And you have.
Yes.
Can you expand on that?
I'm an outreach worker with the D.C. Department of Parks and Recreation Roving Leader Program, and we deal with at-risk youth ages 9 to 21. And our job is to redirect their lives in the right way. Any problem they might come across, it's my job to put them on a positive path. And that's the same way I carry here with my basketball program. I started a program here a couple of years ago. It's called Life Skill Through Sports. It's the model of Roosevelt's basketball program, which means, man, we're going to use the basketball to bring you in, but we're going to also use the basketball to give you an opportunity to do better in your life. And that's what we do here at Roosevelt. So that program is very important. People see, Rob Nickens at 8 o'clock at night and say, well, man, he better win a basketball game. I've won 312 games and only 98 losses here in my time being here at Theodore Roosevelt. That's a remarkable record for a basketball situation, but what about all the lives that are saved when you look at this wall and you look at my office of kids that got an opportunity to go to the next level? I say you want to go pro, you can go pro in school with getting your degree and moving on and being able to take care of your family. That's more important to me than you shooting a basketball. So that's what I'm here to do at Theodore Roosevelt. And the day I can't do that anymore, I'll walk away from it because basketball is not really important. I'm here because I want to save lives, period. That's why I get up every morning. That's why I'm in every rec center I can be in war for. That's why I'm out in these streets, walking these alleys to get these kids out of these situations that they don't have control of. It's brought to them and how you deal with it. As a kid, I grew up in searching quarters. I could have easily sold drugs. I could have did the wrong thing, robbed people, whatever it may be. But I had a good mother that stayed on my back about doing the right thing, and I was able to get out and make it. So it's my job to give back, and that's why I coach basketball here at Theodore Roosevelt.
Talk to me about the landscape of high school basketball. Basketball has changed a lot over the time, even in your tenure here at Roosevelt. Shot clock is pretty new, but give me your thoughts on where basketball's at these days.
I think basketball in Washington, D.C., we have these kids today are very, very talented. They can shoot the basketball at a high level. The athleticism that you see this day and time with guys playing above the rim is crazy. I mean, guys can really flat out jump and do things that, honestly, when I played the game, or probably even when you played the game, Mark, that we wasn't this athletic. So, you know, as the scene of basketball changes, you know, the one thing that most people or most kids don't do, when you see a kid playing on the playground this damn time, what is he doing? He's working on his crossover. He's working on his jump shot. Even when he's working out with his personal trainer, he's working on his skill level. It's very rare kids work on playing defense. And that's something that I think that we do here at Roosevelt that's a little bit different than others, that we want to make sure we defend 94 feet. And that's something that, you know, I live by. I mean, that's my thing. If you can't defend, you can't play at Theodore Roosevelt. And be honest, I'm being honest, when we have guys come in here, yeah, they can just flat out shoot the ball and do all that. But after a week, they know, man, if you're going to be on the floor for Rob Nickens, you're going to have to defend. So basketball across the city has changed. I mean, it's more of a game where everybody wants to score the ball. But here, you know, at Roosevelt, we want to change that. We want to make people defend. And that's what I do in my landscape with basketball here at Roosevelt.
The shot clock has been around for 2 years in the DCI?
2 years.
What are your thoughts on how that's changed the game and just to whether you like it or not?
When you talk about the shot clock, I'm gonna give you a scenario, which is a crazy scenario. Back in 2014, we was in a state championship. Roosevelt, by my gym being an old building, we didn't have a shot clock in the building. That's the first year I think the states implemented the shot clock in the state tournament. We played St. Albans here in a war. They played a half-court style. Man, they do a great job of it. They ran their stuff, and we tried to make them play fast, which is what we do. But they was able to slow us down. 2 nights later, we go to H.D. Wilson, no shot clock. Now we playing, you know, a team we just beat in the championship game by 30 points with no shot clock now. And in the game, it's just an up-and-down game. They slowed us down. Can't get out and run like we want to. We almost lose in the second round of the state tournament. Come Sunday, I get the American U, and now we're playing St. John's, who's loaded. They got 8 Division I guys, and we're playing on a shot clock in the semifinals of the state tournament. But because the way we play, pressure basketball, 94 feet, it helped me against St. John's. It wasn't like my guys had to understand how to play under the clock. We playing up and down anyway, so it helped us in that game. Now, if St. John's is playing against a team that pretty much has played slow basketball all season, could slow it down, and they running a shot clock or whatever they're doing ever against St. John's, I don't know if we'd have been successful in that game. So I think my style of play helps me in any game with a shot clock, because we want to play fast anyway. We want to shoot the ball fast and transition and things like that. So the style with the shot clock favors Theodore Roosevelt and Rob Nickens, because that's the way we play. But that's just a scenario to give you how 2 games we didn't play on, and then the last 2, the state championship game against Moran Verizon Center was on the shot clock, and St. John's was on the shot clock, but the first 2 games of the tournament was no shot clock. So just flipping the switch of how fast you want to play. But now the clock's dead. We playing on it every night. You know, it gives you opportunity to practice and be able to be prepared to play on it. So I love the shot clock. Love it.
Give me your all Roosevelt team since you've been coaching here.
Wow. There's so many guys that have played. Hey, you guys, that's Roosevelt guys. Hey, I know I'm going to get some phone calls. I'm ready for the phone calls. But every guy that has played in my program is a great basketball player, and I will always respect what you did for Theodore Roosevelt basketball. But I was asked this question the other day that my top 5 Roosevelt players, I guess, since I've been here, by position, or you just talking about in general, just 5 guys?
We could do just top 5 guys or position, whatever.
Top 5 guys. Well, I would say Darren Drayford was the guy that really started me with the program being strong because of the way he was. He was just a furious warrior, and whenever he played a basketball game, he played basketball like his life depended on it. So I would have to say him. He went on to play in the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs. That's his picture up there on the wall. Great player here, Theodore Roosevelt. He graduated in 2000. We won the city championship in 2008. He left in 2009. We were like the number 4 team in the area, but he left at mid-season in January that year, and we didn't win the championship in 2009. And I still, to this day, believe if Darren Draper would have not took that scholarship, to leave to go to that football scholarship to Maryland early, we probably would have went back to back. I'm not saying Ballou wasn't great in 2009, but that was a great basketball team I had, and he was the centerpiece, and he left in January that year. So Darren Draper, sure enough, is on that list. Johnny Schuler, who's all everything here at Roosevelt's playing LaSalle University now, all city guard, all Met first team, has to be one of the best that I've ever coached in my career. Just a dynamite kid off the floor, but somebody I looks at as being a son to me. Mike Warren, who's playing at Cal State Northridge. Mikey changed the way we play because of his size, being a 6'5", 6'6" guard. I put the ball in his hand a lot at point guard and just let him just play from the top, when most people want him to play from the wing. So he changed what we do here as far as his athleticism and being able to score the ball at a high level. Devin Gallman, who people still to this day talk to me about, was the guy that had the 25 points in the 2011 city title game against DeMatha at Verizon Center, lit up on the big stage, where a lot of people didn't really know about him. But he went into that game and really, really got it done for us. And back in 2011, we lost at the buzzer to a great DeMatha team that year. And I would say 5. I would have to just go with Jarrell Allen. And the reason why I say Jarrell Allen is because he's one of my most talented kids I ever coached, but he has won more basketball games than anybody in Theodore Roosevelt basketball history. He played in 4 straight DCIAA championship games. He's a 2-time DCIAA champion, state champion. So we call him Kobe. He started a true freshman in 2011 all the way through 14. He won the states, and he played in every game you could play in at Theodore Roosevelt that meant something. So his career alone, like I said, he won more basketball games than anybody in school history. So I would say that has to be my top 5. But it's a lot of guys that I didn't call out that got it done here for Rob Nickens.
I'm going to ask you about some Roosevelt memories here in a second, but I want to start off with one memory I have. One of the best dunks I've ever filmed in my life.
I know about it.
It was a Jabril Faulkner dunk where he rose up on the guy.
Riverdale Baptist.
But I'm curious, obviously you're at every Roosevelt game, and I only get to see a couple a year, but what are some of the best memories of your coaching tenure here?
The 2011 city championship game, tied ball game against Easton, DCIAA championship game, and we get a steal, and Ezel Stocks, who went on to play at Indian Hills, point guard, got a steal and laid the ball in at the buzzer to win the city championship. Has to be one of my best moments here. In 2014 in the state tournament, nobody gave us a chance to beat St. John's. They was number 1 in the area at the time, and they were, like I said, they had 8 Division I guys. And, my guys, believed that we would win the game before the game was even talked about. We had already said, man, we're going to go up here and shock the world, and we went up there and upset St. John's. So beating St. John's, a couple of years ago in the Moreland Basketball Classic, beating Montrose Christian when they were loaded. We went up to Carroll in a packed house, and we knocked down 14 threes in that game, man. Opened that game up and beat Stu Vetter and that great Montrose team. Knocking off, like I said, Kennedy Meeks and West Charlotte. That year they was loaded. They was number 7 in the country at the time, and we was able to upset them. The city championship game in 2014, when we beat H.D. Wilson and Antoine Walker, they had a great team that year. Mike Warren's buzzer beater against Akil Carr at Trinity. It's just so many great wins in my career. Knocking off Clinton Christian right there when they was number 5 in the area. Anthony Whitney had 27 and 15 in that game. Beat Murray in the state title game, and the game losing to DeMatha. I've been in so many big games in my career that, I mean, we'll be here for a while talking about them. I remember losing to Vaughn in 13 at the buzzer. I mean, I've had so many great memories coaching here, and God has truly blessed me in basketball. Wins and losses, man. I mean, I've done it. I've been able to feel it all here, and that's something that I give a tribute to my staff and my kids, because, you know, if I didn't win another basketball game, I have so many basketball memories and championship memories that I could walk off in the sunset today because of the situation that I've been placed in by God.
You're one of the most passionate, animated coaches that I deal with. Where does that come from?
A kid growing up in surgeon quarters that had to, you know, to do everything you had to do to survive. I mean, when I coach the game, I want to win every game. It's not a game that I go into that I don't want to win. I want to win a marble match. If I'm at home and I'm pitching marbles, I want to win against my sister, my brother, being competitive coming up. I had an older sister and a younger brother, and that's where that competitive nature comes from. You know, we playing Uno in the house. Rob Nickens has to win. So I think I get that from my family. My mom and my aunt, who have raised me, are both fighters, and they always told me, man, you have to always fight for what you want. So that's where the passion I think you see on the floor at 8 o'clock at night comes from. And then also, man, just the people around me. Like I got Tony Langley on my staff, who's a guy that's done it all on the AAU circuit, and, you know, Khalid Bosley, who's been my top assistant since I was at M.N. Washington, my JV coach Dave Miles. I got great people around me, and that's why our program is so successful. You know, I'll be sitting here telling you I'm crazy if I don't mention all my principals that I've had here, Dr. Hush, Mr. Costa, man, Mr. Mitchell, and now Miss James and Mr. Brown. Everybody that's been in my corner from day one, they've always believed in me as a basketball coach in the program here. Miss James now is the principal here now, Quillet James, and my AD, Kevin Grimsland. I feel as though they're the best two people that can manage a program in this area. They do a great job for kids, and it makes me want to work harder for them every day. You know.
I want to ask you about your assistant coaches. In most programs, there's a lot of turnover in the assistant coaches world. Most assistant coaches want to become head coaches at some point. I'm curious how much turnover you've had, how you delegate responsibilities to assistant coaches, just how you run your program from the bottom up in terms of coaching.
With the day-to-day operations, Keith Jones, who's my strength and conditioning coordinator, you know, what I do with Keith, we sit down after the season and we talk about each individual kid. What do we have to work on with him becoming a better basketball player? So, for instance, a kid like Marquise Brown, who everybody knows has played the point for me the last 2 years, for him to play at the college level, we feel as though Marquise has to improve his jump shot, and he has to get stronger to be able to guard bigger guards. So Keith put a program together that's going to help Marquise with his explosion. It's going to also help him, man, with him getting to the basket and being able to finish through contact and things like that. So each kid has a responsibility list that we're going to check it off through the whole summer. And then by the time November 1st comes around, when Keith hands the team over to me, all my guys should be looking like we need them to look physically and should be mentally tough to be able to compete at a high level through the season. Tony Langley's responsibility is to deal with the skill work. Let me and him do that together. You know, now with the rules of the DCIAA, you can only have 4 guys in the gym at a time get individual work. Oh, really? Yeah, so that's a rule. So that's why. When was that rule enacted? It's been in place, I think, for the last 2 or 3 years. That's a rule they put in place. Just like I can't coach any summer basketball or any spring league basketball. So you got to understand what we're dealing with. Rob Nickens takes this team over in November. He has to drive this car for the next 5 months. But he hasn't really touched it like he wants to touch it in the spring, in the summer, and in the fall. Are you allowed to work with the kids and practice in the off-season? We can't do any practicing. You can't do anything. Or involuntary workouts, shoot-arounds? You can do 4 guys in the gym. So I can be in the gym with 4 guys just saying, hey, we need to do this on your jump shot. hey, this is what we need to do, dribble, drive. However we want to coach this guy and get him to work on his skill level. But I cannot give any instruction as far as plays, anything like that, not allowed in the summertime. So you asking me, when I take over in the winter, I have to drive this car November the 1st. That's why I tell people all the time, don't look at me in November and December. You want to look at me around February because I got complete control of the car now. But early on, it takes time. You got a kid, look at last year, you got a kid like Darius Miles who comes in as a true freshman. I didn't coach him in the summer league. I didn't coach him in the fall league. He was in his first practice with me November the 1st. But I got to get him to play at a high level by, December the 1st? Talking a month. But we've been able to do it. And like I said, I'm not complaining or talking negative about the rules. I mean, whatever rules are given to Roosevelt, we're going to follow them and do what we need to do. But that's just a scenario to paint the picture. When you look at public school basketball in the city, hey, this is what we're dealing with.
4 or 5 years ago, the city title game was erased and the DC State took over. What was that, 4 or 5 years ago?
It's 2012, because I played in the 2011 city title game. I played in the state tournament in 2012, yes.
So the city title game used to be, the mecca of high school basketball right here.
Yes,
it used to be the game of the year, hands down. Maybe that and some other league championships.
Yes, it was.
I'm curious what your thoughts on the DC State stuff is. It's a tournament, not just a championship game, but it doesn't pit that public school versus that private. What are your thoughts on that?
I got two ways I look at the state tournament. And I also got two ways I look at the city title game. Back in the day, when the city title game was coming up, the public and private, the two best teams crashed at Verizon Center at Cole Fieldhouse. So you got an opportunity to see the two best. I think in 2000, in 9 and 10, DeMatha played Ballou, which I thought Ballou and DeMatha were the two best teams in the area. 2011, we got through the gauntlet and we was able to play, like I said, DeMatha in the city title game. In 08, I played Gonzaga, and that team was the Tyler Thornton Gonzaga team. So I've been in the city title game a couple of times and played in that big game. So I love the city title game. But then, before the state tournament came about, I didn't know how to look at the state tournament. But now, after playing in it, the last couple of years and playing against the privates and playing against more than one private, like one year I had to beat 3 private schools to win a state championship, you have to really bring your A game in this situation with the states. It's pretty much like the NCAA tournament. You're going to play. There's no way you can duck competition. There's no way you can, because sometimes, as a lead, you might have the DCIAA. One year the lead is great and it's very, very strong, where the person that wins the DCIAA goes to the city title game and faces the strongest Catholic school team. But then sometimes you might not have the lead where it's strong that year, and then your DCIAA team go to the city title game, and the WCAC is so strong. Now you got the DCIAA champion playing a strong WCAC team, and we don't fare as well as we should. But with this state tournament, you going through the gauntlet. You got to play 4 games and win 4 games. And in my case, we had to go on the road to play them. So you had to go to HD, after I had just beat HD that year in the DCIAA championship game. Had to go to American to beat St. John's. Then I had to go to Verizon and beat Murray. If you ain't got your kids playing on a regular basis in them type of arenas or, in that situation, you ain't gonna just walk in the Verizon Center and just shoot jump shots. It ain't that type of party. And I think that's the thing that we have to deal with when you get to that level where the private schools, I would say, probably play on that stage a little bit more than us. You know what I'm saying? I'm not taking nothing from what they do. Steve Turner, Mike Jones, and all them great coaches in the WCAC, they do a little bit more traveling than we do at the public school level because of finances and things like that, where their guys are playing at big arenas and big crowds every night. But you asking Roosevelt to go in there and beat them on that stage, it's a tough situation. But, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I believe that you can win any game in a one-game scenario. So I love the state tournament, what Clark Ray and what Sean Conley and them are doing with the state tournament. I love it. I think it really shows who's the best in DC basketball, but it's really tough for public school teams to be able to get through it because it's a tough out. I mean, it's not a joke.
AAU basketball has evolved into the monster it is today. I know every high school coach has to interact to some degree with AAU coaches. They have kids, rising freshmen who maybe the only opportunity they get to see them is on the AAU level. Talk about your interaction with AAU coaches and kind of how you view AAU basketball in comparison to high school basketball.
I believe that AAU basketball is good for kids playing it, and the reason why I say that is because here at Roosevelt I try to play the toughest non-conference schedule that I can play, but on the AAU when you're on the circuit you're playing against guys from all over the country, so it gives you an opportunity not only to build your name as a player, locally but nationally, which is great. I can honestly say AAU basketball in the city has not really affected Rob Nickens' program. I've had guys that play AAU, and I've had some great AAU coaches that my guys play for that I speak, strongly of. And I mean, Keith Stevens and Chuck Basin and Damon Hannon. All these guys do a great job, at the AAU level, and I know it's very competitive. It's just like high school sports is very competitive. I'm coaching now with Metro Ball. Terrence and most of them guys gave me an opportunity to coach 7th grade AAU with Metro Ball, so I'm even involved in the AAU situation, AAU scene now, and I think honestly it's going to, it makes me a better coach because, it's pressure coaching here at Theodore Roosevelt, we're trying to win games, but the AAU level is really fun for me. I love coaching 7th grade AAU because it's giving me an opportunity just to have fun coaching. Not saying that I don't have fun coaching Roosevelt, but I mean, it's really there's no consequences for losing a game at the AAU level for me, but at Roosevelt, it's always consequences with the lead and things that's going on. So, I take my hat off to it. AAU has really, really picked up over the years, but guys do get seen at that level, and it's great for a program like mine. If I got AAU guys, pushing my kids here at Roosevelt, on the national scene, like, Chuck and all them do, man, I can't do nothing but take my hat off to AAU basketball.
You've mentioned this throughout this interview, but I'm curious if you had to give me a short list of some of the best players that you've coached against in your tenure here.
In my tenure here, Deshaun Mormon, when he was at Coolidge, was an amazing player.
Kalen.
Dirk Washington at Coolidge, Kalen Cumberlander, David Kaduri, Trey, Keon Boyd, Daquan H.D. Woodson, DeMarco Pickett at Easton. It's so many. Dante Thomas.
How about some of these showcases, some of these private school kids and non-DCIAA kids?
Oh, man. You look at Montrose Christian, Wayne Wright. I can go on with Justin Wayne, the kid is at
Justin Anderson.
Justin Anderson. Like I said, Clinton Christian that year where they had the guard, Byron Hawkins, if I'm not mistaken, Akil Carr. Man, there's so many great players that I've dealt with. I'll be here forever talking about so many guys that we've dealt with here at Roosevelt because we've played everybody. I mean, this past year, the 2 kids at Chavez, the guards, Jacob Long and the kid that just signed with Niagara, the guard can flat out play. Khalif Tate. I mean, you talking about every time we play in a showcase, we're dealing with a monster player. There's no, even going back to Martha Washington, man, we played, remember this story, man, at MM when I first took the job, somebody was like, man, you need to play a tough schedule, man. I was like, okay, all right, we play anybody. You ain't gonna get your name out there if you don't play nobody. I scheduled Montrose Christian, so Stu Vetter. So I'm listening to two of my kids, two of my best players, Brian Kendrick and Jerome Nesbitt. Man, yeah, man, they got this kid named Kevin Durant. He okay, you know what I'm saying? But we gonna get him, Coach Rob. What up? We get on the bus, cool. We on our way to the game, and they introduce the starting lineups, and man, they introduce us first, and then they say, yeah, for the #1 team in the country. And they named Vasquez. They had the point guard Sasha Ito, and they had Kevin Durant, and they was loaded. We ended up losing by like 15. So my kids played a real competitive style that day, but that just taught me a lesson. Hey, you don't go by what no kids say. You better understand. Kevin Durant the best player in the world right now. So, hey, that goes to show you the type of talent that I've seen or I've been in front of, and that's just a small little story or scenario I'm trying to let you see, man. I've seen it all. I've seen a lot of talented kids in my tenure. Dante Thomas, man, I talk about him all the time, probably one of the most talented kids I've seen, you know. Quinn Cook. We dealt with B.J. Anye in the city title game. The Grant brothers. We had to deal with them guys. I mean, we've seen so many great players in my tenure at Roosevelt that I can't name one. It's or two. It's about 100, 150. I mean, great players. Yep.
One of the last things I want to touch on are hardships that you've dealt with. I know you guys had a player who was murdered a few years back.
Yep.
We touched on this before a little bit, the violence and the poverty that a lot of your kids have to deal with, but just talk about, more than being a basketball coach, the type of stuff that you guys have to deal with.
You know, I deal with homelessness all the time. You know, kids being, you know, not having, you know, a meal to eat. Kids not having bus fare to get to school. Clothing situations where guys, you know, don't have, you know, I mean, it ain't have to be designer clothes. Kid might need a coat. We just deal with so many things that come our way before we play a basketball game that I'm so used to it, been in it for so long that I understand that, hey, just be the crutch when he fall, just be the crutch to be there for him. And that's what we deal with. A lot of people, you know, they show up at 8 o'clock at night and they see Roosevelt on the floor and they say, well, you know, Rob has a great team, but they don't know that we might have to deal with a kid that didn't eat that day. Or you know, I got a kid up there on my wall. I keep that up there to remind me why we do this work. David Weston, he was here in 2009. In 10, he graduated in 10. He was a kid that, you know, was a great kid. You know, he was a kid that got into a lot of fights and things back then, but he was really, really a good kid. And unfortunately, man, you know, he lost his life in 2010. He was on his way about to go to school at Reading College up in Pennsylvania on that Monday. I saw him on that Friday. I was about to get my hair cut in the barber shop, and he said, Coach Rob, I need to talk to you about something. And I got a call from his brother in the wee hours in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, that Saturday night, that he got killed. And you know, to this day, I carry it with me because I never knew what he wanted to ask me. I don't know if he was in some type of trouble. He had turned his life around. You know, he was on the right track to do the right thing. He was leaving Monday, and I never knew or know what he was trying to say to me. Was he in some type of trouble? Or, Coach Rob, I need you to talk to this guy or stop this beef. Or I don't know. So with that being said, I felt as though I lost him, but I wasn't going to lose all my kids. So that's why I work as hard as I work every day, because, you know, a situation like that will teach you, man, that, hey, you have to be there no matter what. And you have to fight for these kids day in and day out. And like I said, man, you know, basketball is a small piece of this puzzle here at Roosevelt. We run a family here. I love every kid in my program, you know, like they're my own child. So David is somebody that, you know, his picture's up in my wall to remind me every day that, man, hey, Rob, keep grinding, man. You got to fight for these kids and you got to save lives. So that's why I do this type of work. It's not about basketball. Basketball, small piece of the puzzle. Yeah, we judged on wins and losses, but I think I should be judged more on the lives and lives we save here.
We appreciate that. We appreciate that. Last thing I want to ask you, Coach, and it's something I've asked every coach in this series. there's a pickup basketball game today. Every coach in the area is eligible to be picked. Who's your first pick?
Rob Nickens.
Who's your second pick?
Steve Turner.
Steve Turner?
Because I know me and him going to go hard and we going to foul everybody on the floor. And that's being real. And we going to do whatever we need to do to win. So I would say Rob Nickens and Steve Turner in the backcourt. And they probably going to be the most brutal backcourt in Washington, D.C. basketball history. Because we going to beat up everybody.
Coach, we really appreciate you letting us in and giving us a look inside your life, inside your program. Last thing I want to do is just give you an opportunity. I know you don't have a platform to reach people outside of the Roosevelt area and outside of the kids that you work with, but if there's anything you want to talk about basketball or about anything else, the floor is yours.
Just pretty much, man, that, I want to thank God for giving me an opportunity to be in the position that I'm in, to save lives and to wake up every morning and have an opportunity to work with kids. It takes a special village to raise children. I know I'm a small piece of this puzzle, but I do it for all the right reasons, and my heart is into saving lives. Do we want to win basketball games at Roosevelt? Yes, we do. But more importantly, in the work and in the field that I do, I want to save lives. I want kids to be able to come back to my program and say, man, that guy really cared about me outside of basketball, and that's where my passion comes from. I've picked up the championship trophy plenty of times, but the one thing that I always remember, man, is that I remember this vividly, like yesterday. We played in the city title game. Joe Aladeo came up to me and hugged me after the game. He said, Coach Rob, man, you a champion outside of basketball. And he grabbed me and he hugged me in the middle of riding center floor. And that sticks with me to this day. So that's why I do that. Getting a little emotional with that, but that's why I do this work, man, because these kids love me and I love them. So shout out from the Milkhouse, Theodore Roosevelt basketball.
Coach Nickens, we really appreciate it. It's been great getting to know you a little better, and we look forward to what you do next season here at Roosevelt.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it, man.
All right.